to have cast 3 of their games so far, and we've had an absolute blast doing so. The one thing that I would say Lost One need to be careful of today, they are a very, very good team. They've been aggressively fantastic. The gun skill is up there. They will do the unexpected. The one thing that I want to see them improve is the ability to close maps out. They get to 6-3, they start struggling a little bit, they don't get it done as quickly as they should, they go to overtime a lot more than they might need to. So that's definitely something they can improve. They're going to have the bans coming in. We've got what is turning into an almost rare Thatcher ban, which I didn't think I'd be saying anytime soon, but we do have Thatcher go. It's quite a funky set of bans, really. We've got Thatcher coming in, Ying, Kaid and Bandit, leaving Azami, Solus, Valkyrie, the trifecta on defense can all be played.
They can, and just to kind of hone in on this map for a second, Ali spoke about it a little bit on the desk just before we came on, but it is a really interesting pick where it feels like Wolves have kind of tried to play into Lost One's weaknesses a little bit. What I think also really works well for Wolves here in this game is that it's coming up against a team that, for me, feels quite a lot like G2, being honest with you. You know, we've seen Lobin being basically Doki, really aggressive, getting up at windows and doorways, trying to be the disruptor in the first 60 seconds of the round. When he goes down, you come across the equivalent of Benjamaster. You come across Maya, who tends to play in the middle of the team. When you go even one layer back further than that, and sometimes you'll even see him involved towards the front line, you have Rise, who's been an absolute beast in some of their games this week. So those front 3, in my mind at least, are quite similar to what you see from G2, with Dots and Dash then taking the roles of Virtue and Blur. There's been a couple of question marks around that pairing and exactly how strong they are. Probably in the same way, Blur has caught a few strays this week from people, not being 100% sure if he's the go-to support for this team forevermore, but at least starting to put on some numbers as well. So I think for Wolves, it's not a terrible matchup. It's obviously not playing against the same teams. You haven't got all the same mannerisms, but it will feel very, very similar. So personally, I think Wolves have got as good a shot as any at beating Lost One here.
Okay, we get into things. We're on Clubhouse, which I think is going to be an unbelievable map for these two to kick things off on. Rise is going to get spotted out in stock. The one to watch at the minute, actually, Des, is Lobin. He's hiding himself away. Rise is going to find a nice opener. I love to see that. Great use of the information. Thank you very much, medics. Sending us straight over to Lobin, who's hiding himself away in strip at the minute. So it's hopeful for EU fans that Wolves will be using those drones as effectively as Rise just did then, to make sure they're aware of Lobin over on that side. The yellow ping suggests they certainly are. He's going to have to get himself moving. He's going to take a lot of damage. This is good from Wolves so far.
It is, but he really wants to fight his way back here as well. There's 2 of them pushing in towards Chain, so they could have really stacked up there for a trade, but couldn't quite find it. Bibu coming in just behind. One of the things to really commend Wolves for in their game against G2. Here we go. Second one coming in. It's a pre-fire from Rise. All too easy onto Lobin, but again, just to commend them, I think against G2 earlier, they were excellent at isolating players on Chalet and pinching into, 3v1s, 4v1s, basically giving that player an absolute guarantee that they would be dead inside the next 20 seconds. And that's a lot more of the Wolves that we're used to seeing online. The confidence has really built up. The playstyle is very good against the way that Lost One play and equally good against G2. So I think you're going to see a lot of the same here.
Great information used so far, and I was just going to ask the question about whether Dash had managed to just slip his way onto the flank, but absolutely not. Wolves fully aware. Bibu cuts him down. Mowgli onto Maya and Dots. It's all down to him. 1 versus 5 becomes 1 versus 4, but it's a matter of time when that volume of utility comes flying at your face. He gets taken down, and that is a really good first round from Wolves, not just because of the outcome, but the manner in which they got there. The sheer volume of information that they had and how well they put it to use, really impressed. That is the Wolves that we're used to seeing, and if we get more of that on land, then oh boy, could this tournament open up.
It used to be a really silly comparison I'd make, but thinking about Wolves as a team name compared to how, say, for example, Wolves hunt out in nature, it's not a direct charge you try and smash your face in. It is this kind of stalking, waiting to spot the weak points and then picking off the weak potentially, and that's exactly what they've done in that round. They've just sat and waited for Lost One to try and work their way back down to site and cut off the main thoroughfare of this entire map, main stairs. They've had one come through from one come via Chains, who came in from strip side of things in Lobin. They've had 2 try and work their way down main stairs, and then just pick them off one after the other with 2 or 3 players all within striking distance of that area of the map. It was a really good read into Lost One. They've got to come up with something different here as well, with a second attempt going on inside of the basement. They have changed up their their operators. Feels to me like you see a little bit more of a dug-in defense here, Tim, because although Lobin's on the Malusi, as a reminder, she is now a 1-speed, nowhere near as fast as she was back when she was a 3-speed.
Yeah, it's absolutely no surprise whatsoever to see Lost One going for a more sort of dug-in turtle approach to this defense, because let's be honest, Wolves have just absolutely decimated them on the roll. So yeah, no surprise to see that shift. I think it's probably a smart move from Lost One. The question that you get now is, you know, can they win really? As Rise manages to get an opener on to Dash, and Wolves are going to have even more time than last time around to go and pick up these fights without those roamers on the top floor.
It does feel with the reads they've got that you can see exactly why Wolves would want to come here to Clubhouse. They're looking excellent so far. Really smart reads onto the members of Lost One, who in the first couple of rounds so far at least have felt really lost and unable to find an answer. They've only got one frag between every single member, and I know there's still the second round to play out, but it has been a really slow start so far for the LATAM side. Also not forgetting, they probably aren't as warmed up as what Wolves are, given Wolves have already played a game today.
Yeah, I mean, I'll add a similar asterisk there, Des. You know, we see teams come in, the first 3 rounds aren't, you know, really the end of the world. It's give it a bit of time. You might just see Lost One settling into things and getting themselves going. But what they do need to be careful of is that they don't leave it too long until that happens, because otherwise Wolves are going to run away with this. And as I say, that Rise manages to find the headshot onto Lobin, leaving us now 5 versus 3. And Des, look at the clock. There's an absolute age of time left. There's more than half of the round. There's 8 drones left on the side of Wolves. I would strongly be suggesting at this point Lost One might benefit from a Solace, because the information that Wolves have had and the way they've used it has just been absolutely killer to them so far.
It has been, yeah. Maybe we'll see it brought in a future round. It is indeed available here, as are things like the Mirror, all the Heart Breaches are available. A lot of choice in this game, and I think to echo a comment that I think it was Lycan said earlier on, Club actually is really fun to watch at the minute, because as the bans come through, it transforms entirely how the map is played out. Keeps it very fresh and dynamic, so for an old map to have such variety based on what operators are available is really, really fun. Either way, we've seen Lost One being able to have no fun. They have been chewed up and spat out by Wolves so far. There is still so much work to do. I'll give them 3 or 4 rounds, then we really do need to see Lost One wake up and start playing Siege.
Maya is in behind the table. If Church is going to be supported by Rise out in Armory, who's just going to be trying to hold on to blue for the time being. But there's a lot of pressure starting to mount from Wolves now. 30 seconds left to go. They still don't have a huge rush to be pushing themselves in here, but they can easily push players. You know, 3 of them at once, for example. Now then, Rise taking an awful lot of damage. Here comes the plant as the Capitao smoke is going to cover that off. Shinka will start putting the diffuser down on the ground, and Maya just losing the fight there. Ultimately, Rise little he can do, and that's another round for Wolves, and we quickly find ourselves with Wolves taking a reasonable advantage here, Des. And the thing for me is, the gunfights aren't close at the minute. This isn't just Wolves strategically beating Lost One. Like, look at that Maya fight onto bottom main stairs there. Like, it wasn't even really kind of close. There was no bullets landing, and Lost One, they're going to need to sharpen up quickly.
Yeah, if not on the Ana as well, then I would have been saying, okay, look, they get scopes, all the rest of it, but as we know, she had that taken away, so it was very much an all things equal fight. In fact, I didn't really see what gun he had now, I think about it. The ARX isn't been super popular this event. We've seen more of the G36, just because of the fact that, again, you think you have better scopes on it. Seems to be a little bit more popular for most teams. Either way, I'm with you. Lost One do need to find a way into this game. 2 rounds down, 2 kills on their entire team. Now, again, it's all good saying we can give them a little bit of breathing room if they lose this round here. I really think those 45 seconds for a timeout would be valuable, just to have a conversation and get things reset, because this could not really have gone any worse for the start to a game like this, one that's so important. As you said, the winner is guaranteed to be in Blast Bell on Friday. The loser, well, they've got to battle through the lower bracket, and there are some scary teams that have fell into there, Tim. All of our second seed teams who got to choose their opponents have fell down into that lower bracket already.
It just hasn't really worked out at all, has it, so far? You know, we'll see how things progress, but, you know, it comes back to something I said at the... Oh, my dear word. Mowgli gonna absolutely slay Lobin across the map, picks him up, and that is the response that Lost One get for trying to bring in some aggression here, for trying to, you know, power themselves into the round. And the thing is, that's going to start knocking the confidence to many of those, so it's going to be something that they need to manage. We've got Jacuzzi Wall open, good quick progress once again from Wolves, Logi Hatch as well, and they just look like a force at the minute, Des. They look like an absolute force.
Completely ignoring what's going on out towards Cash as well. P4 once again is looking to strike here. Zero idea that it'll be here as well. The Soul is the one running around through the basement. I thought for a second that we would see Dash coming up main stairs, but it's not to be the play. Maybe he will once the execute begins, but for now, P4's the one who can charge his way up and strike. In he goes, rounding in towards Secret, finds his man for free. Down goes one, instantly traded out by the other side, but Wolves have attempted to collapse here and have got control of the site.
3 versus 3 then, they know where a man is, managed to get one, and yet again it's a trade. It's been like that all the way through the game. 1 for 1 for 1. Shinka goes in looking for the man they know is inside of construction, but Dash is actually going to take the drop. There's an opportunity to get the diffuser down here. I think they're going to go for it. Dots could well move through the rotation, but it doesn't look like the Solis has picked up that the plant is going down, and that is a big loss for Lost One. They really should have been finding that underneath. Doesn't have time really to be trying to locate that activated diffuser, and it's all up to them to fight back.
And again, they conceded control of sight so soon, opted to play behind the Solis, but if you can't make the play with the Solis, then what's the point? Dots moving in through sight here, sees one man, knows inside of Lodging, almost gets Shinka, but Bibi finds Dash on the cross. It's a 1 versus 2 for Dots to try and save this round for his team. He's found himself 3 kills so far, but he's got to go the full mile here and bring down the last 2. It feels like a tall order. Chasing one down, won't find his man as he goes down to 5 HP. It's a closeout for the Wolves, and they're up 3-0 in the first quarter.
Great start for the European side, absolutely flying at the minute and just continuing that energy that they showed in the G2 game. Obviously the G2 game was very close. It was 2 overtimes that it took for Wolves to get it done, but you just felt as a team that they were riding on confidence. They were starting to... This is the first time, Des, realistically, that we've seen them enjoy playing on LAN, and they look dangerous.
Não fica correndo no início de round. A gente vai jogar embaixo, na W7. Porque a W7 não tem como eles punirem entrada rápida se eles não entrarem em algum cruzado nosso. Tá? Joga nelas, vocês vão depois, volta pra cá e joga na tua daquela play daquele moleque postal lá. Vocês falam, hã? É, então, ela. Por quê? Mesma coisa, se ele quiser entrar pra pegar a primeira punida, eles vão ter que jogar em cima de cruzado também. Então a gente vai dar preferência para as duas. Hã?
Não muda nada dela pra essa.
Não, é outro ataque, esquece, só pega ela.
Renato, joga de azul de card,
só fica parado no spawn.
Pô, não sei, será que pegar a medusa, guys?
My Portuguese is terrible, thank you, medics, for asking. That one for me was more conversational. It's really interesting analysing the coach timeouts more so than it is the game at points. We don't, but trying to kind of gauge it. It shows you a lot about body language as well, right? And, you know, the tone of voice they're using. A lot more conversational, a lot more kind of, you know, it's not disaster ground yet, but let's have a chat, figure out a couple of things here. Here's something I've seen that's going wrong. At least that's the expression I got from the body language and the hand movements. So nothing kind of, again, as panic stations, more to say, right, breathe for 45 seconds, like we suggested they might do. Let's get it back on track. Now we'll see if they can do anything in these next 3 rounds. For Wolves, they'll already be delighted with 3 rounds on the attack.
I mean, at the end of the day, this is, you know, it's Wolves' map pick. It's not a great map for Lost One, and if they come away losing it, I don't think it's going to be the end of their world. They're going to be looking, you know, much more towards the latter half of this game, and they've shown an ability to scrap so far. They've had to, you know, with many of their maps going into overtime. So I'm sure Lost One aren't going to be scared by this. You know, they're going to be, you know, ready to knuckle down and fight the fight. But the problem that they get is that this map could easily be over before they realise it. You know, we could be on for a 5-1, 6-0 half here because Wolves are in a position where they're likely going to be repeating sites now that they've already dominated on the attack, and it's up to Lost One really to find the answers.
It is, and that's why ultimately that timeout should help them find them. At least you're hoping so, otherwise this could be a very painful remainder to Clubhouse.
Much different setup from Lost One here, 3 on the top floor, whereas previously we didn't see such an investment for Church and Arsenal on those top floor roamers. So we've got 1 inside construction, 1 on Garage Catwalk and 1 over at Red Stairs. That's going to take a lot more manpower for Wolves to clear out, but it's a big gamble, Des, because if Wolves do come in here and get this top floor control with a couple of kills along the way, those Lost One players better be hoping they take some with them.
Damn straight they should be. As of course, why don't they actually get challenged up here? And the answer, up until this point, was not really no. Only now we're starting to see the challenge coming through as Mobley's got himself inside of construction. understands there is one playing top red, and he has the right idea. There are, in fact, a couple hanging around here, so he's got to be careful what he tries to challenge for, and Logan's going to walk straight into it. 0-4 in this game, whilst he's had some real reigns of terror coming through across the week. Here, yet to make an impact. Dash finds one, instantly traded out, but Wolves still walk away with the man advantage.
Half a round and 2 deaths, I just don't think is enough for a 3-player roam up on top floor. It was a good effort from Lost One. They managed to pick up Mowgli along the way. You know, maybe take a couple of nades out of play as well, which is always going to be helpful. But ultimately, I think Wolves will be pretty happy with that. They've got the hard breach that they need. They've got plenty of it, to be fair. They've tripled down on it. They've got Ibana, Thermite and Ace. The Ace, I think, from Rise likely being brought along. Not so much for the gadget, just a good gun, good utility, and a lot of people really liking that operator at the minute. And the fact that he can hard breach for himself is a little bonus on top of that. But yeah, I feel like Wolves still in a very commanding position, and the top floor, you know, the weight up there, maybe not paying dividends for Lost One. We'll see in the next 40 seconds.
Absolutely. A lot of flashes on side as well that they can just yeet in towards site here and catch out and basically full white screen 2 or 3 players on the side of Lost One. They've been in no big rush, but at least here with the number of impacts left on both Rise and Maya, they might be able to deny this hatch away, actually. 2 exothermics plus the X-Kairos in back pocket are there, but the time simply is not. They need to make a push coming in down main stairs here, trying to look in towards Trophy, but there's a Capcan on the door. What a surprise, Tim.
Too easy, and a little bit of a surprise from Wolves. Their information has been fantastic so far, but down to 4 drones, you can see it's starting to hurt them. Immediate trade from Rise onto Rise. Maya manages to find Bibu, and it is advantage Lost One somehow. Even with that start, they've managed to hold on. Shinka is trying to get a diffuser down. It's not going to happen as Rise comes around the corner, gets that final kill, and Lost One, despite a shaky start with the 3-man roam, will still be able to take the round, and that is a big grab for them. And I'm also surprised before starting this, we didn't realise that we had Rise versus Rise.
I know, yes, a good point. That one, I can't criticise them heavily because they've had a brilliant first 3 rounds, but for Wolves there, 60 seconds, not a whole ton got done. They were so concerned about being flanked, for example, and making sure they'd set everything up. They were getting hatches opened. 1 minute 30 became 30 seconds remaining, and they realised we haven't got time to open these hatches and play this impact tricking game. We've got to get down on site. So although Lost One did lose 2 members, it clearly did the right thing here in forcing Wolves to play it nice and slow and steady for the next 60 seconds, and maybe a little bit of oversight on the Wolves side to realise we haven't got time to make this happen. So well played by Lost One to dig back, less so by Wolves there for drawing things out a bit too long, but again, won't be too rattled by that. They are up 3-1 after all.
No, not at all. You know, by contrast, I think if Lost One can get themselves 2 defensive rounds given the start, they'll be fairly happy with that. But I don't think it sets them up fantastically well. I think 4-2 on the half is going to be a little bit too easy for Wolves to be able to close that out when they get on the defence. But who knows? The turn of time can be a funny thing, especially when you go from attack to defence. Wolves then going to be attacking again this time. Looks like it's going to be onto bar and stage.
All right. I don't hate the idea of this. It's another one of those sites that I'll kind of always come back to things like Cafe Reading and Fireplace. Great example for it, where teams have to take almost the entirety of the top floor and then worry about the actual site itself, which I think is why you're going to see several members from Lost One here looking to roam out towards the east, in the expectation we'll have a starting attack out towards Cash CC, out towards Garage, to then work their way across. What Wolves maybe aren't fully aware of, actually, is that Wolves are saying, yeah, forget about that. We're going Route 101. We're going straight in towards Bedroom here. You guys want to stay out towards the east? We have no problem with that. But they've already got control here of Gym and Bedroom. I don't think Lost One realise how much they've actually given away here.
No, absolutely not. There was only 2 players from Lost One. Maya and Dash were the only 2 that were trying to hold on to top floor, and that's a little bit lighter than you might expect normally. They've been forced back. Dash has taken damage, and Wolves have already got control over Bedroom. They've got control over construction.
They've got to get Strip, and they've got to get rid of Dots. If they get rid of those 2 players, the west side of the map is completely free. And knowing how good Wolves have been at cutting down these rotating players, they should be fine. They just need to have the read that they've only got 2 players waiting underneath them, and they can just hit sight here and say, forget about the rest of you. You can't stop any of this.
I can only imagine that Lost One in the minds are playing for a little bit of a retake here, sort of almost inviting Wolves in with the plan of striking across top floor when that happens. Mowgli, he's going to take down Lobin. That's script for free, and they can now go in and start thinking about getting a diffuser down. So Lost One are going to have to make a move, and they are doing that. As I suggested, Dash and Maya are starting to work their way back across through construction, and they're going to try and cut down those people that are holding the vertical angles. But I think that they're prepared. P4's watching the door.
And they get the cams as well because of Lobin going down. It could not be going much better.
Oh, that's a big
Maya
win.
finds P4 rising to the next, so they've caught them on the cut across here, Tim, and this is what I was worried about. They lost so much important control, and Rise drops the donk on him. Down goes Maya, full control to the Wolves once again, and they have just caught Lost One asleep in this round.
I think this is a plan. Basically,
Brilliant.
Lost One had a plan, and it's just gone wildly wrong. Is the top and bottom of it. Bibu's quite involved.
Quite excited.
Love to see it. So what's happened is Lost One, as I thought, Maya and Dash have given up that ground. They've invited Wolves in, and I think they've almost wanted to sort of bait them into a plant. I think they've thought when they're in a position to plant, their eye's going to come off the ball a little bit, and that's when Maya and Dash push back across top floor. They move through construction. Now, Maya gets a great first kill onto P4. If Dash can find the kill onto Rise inside logistics, Wolves' attack falls apart. So the plan would work if you get those gunfights. They just couldn't get them done. Rise cut both of them down, and that was a big problem for them. Round was over at that point because there was just nothing really that Lost One could do. It was a big gamble on Maya and Dash being able to, give that ground up and then come back and take it later. I think really the fight to have is keeping hold of it in the first place.
Honestly, I think they got caught completely blindsided. They thought there was going to be a push coming in from the east side, which is why they had 3 players out there. And although they battled back in, Wolves said we don't need to hold gym and bedroom because no one's actually here. All we've got to do is stick one inside Logi, maybe one on main stairs, contest bedroom, let them know we're here, because then they can't use the vertical against us. But again, Lost One for me have been caught completely blindsided. Wolves played that really, really well. They went more direct than expected, and it surprised Lost One. If you think that's bad, what about when you bring along a Monty to spearhead your attacks forward? Rise dropping the gun for a while. He's 8-2. Screamer of a map, but dropping away from the gun so far onto the Monty, showing that he's a team player and not all about himself and his KD.
Yeah, this is great from Wolves. Love to see it. They've got the Azami, have Lost One, so that's going to help them hold on to Catwalk. But the perfect tool, the perfect tin opener for that tin is Montagna. Force him up the Catwalk stairs and just bully that player out of position. Now then, we're going to have a coming together here. We've got Mowgli moving through. It's Lobin on the Solus that is going to be making the challenge here, but I get the feeling that Wolves are already aware of his position, and that's why Mowgli's going in. Shots are missed though, and he's going to be seriously low health with Lobin taking very little damage. Mowgli decides it's time to get himself out of there.
Backs away for now. It's Bibu going down. This looks good for Lost One, actually. The damage they've done onto Mowgli with the Monty being not so much unsupported, but a little bit alone at the moment, taking a bit of damage from an impact nade as it comes out as well from the Wamai of Maya that was up in the rafters. It is going to slow things down a bit, and Wolves, I feel, almost have tried to bite off maybe more than they can chew in this round.
It certainly is starting to look that way. Nade gets sent up onto CC window, not going to have any joy, nobody around that area. The double hold of Garage Catwalk is dealing nicely with the Monty at the minute. It's just forcing Rise to hold on. He needs some support to come in with him, but the Azami by the window is making that very, very difficult for anybody to push in. It's not a direct challenge that they can make, and I feel like Wolves are just stalling out a little bit here.
Well, there we go. We've got the pinch support from the Monty. If the call is there, there's a second player on Catwalk as well. This will make it so much easier for Wolves because they can basically isolate 2 players. B4 has walked in. I don't think they're 100% aware here, but if they get the supporting angle on, there we go. He had to win that gunfight, but could not get it. Mowgli finds one. Lobin straight into a trade. It does feel like Lost One have got the better of the Wolves here in the final round of their defenses. Maya hits the deck. Wolves march on.
45 seconds left to go and an opportunity to push into sight, but they're just going to move underneath. Don't forget, Lobin on the Solus can deny any plant attempt from below. We find ourselves 2 versus 2. Dots down Rise, and it is now all up to Shinker. He really is best off going for kills. 30 seconds left to go. Not likely to have an opportunity to put the diffuser down unless he can get up on top of one of those tables, like you say. He has to find the kill. Cannot do it as Dots hits his shots, and that is going to take us through to a 2-4 half.
Close. I thought Shinka might be able to do something there as well if he won out the 1 versus 1, but as you say, well won by Dots. One of the backline players that we don't really get to talk about all that often, putting up some good numbers there. So, for Lost One, they get 2 rounds back. It could be far worse. There is still a long way to climb. I think they've looked really, really strong on the defensive side of things generally this week, Lost One. Attacks here against a team that have picked into a map that they know you're quite weak on. This is where you can see more of the cracks start to show in the armor. For now, though, let's see how WOL set up on the downstairs, as that's where things will kick off, and they've gone straight onto the Solars with Rise.
Bulletproof Cam is going to be facing out towards blue, so that's going to be a lot of information getting fed back in. It might give them the opportunity not to dedicate a man to that position. They'll have somebody on hand ready to go and challenge, but they may well leave it somewhat unattended and look to maybe give a little bit more support out to the roam, for example. They can use that Bulletproof Cam just to keep an eye on any early round activity in blue until they have the manpower back on site. So much like Lost One, I'm interested to see how much manpower Wolves actually dedicate to the top floor. At the minute, they've got Rise and Mowgli up there. There's not going to be any further support for them, I don't think. So it's going to be a 2-man hold of top floor, and again, we'll see just how much they commit to it. Lost One, they were pretty strong in their committal. They were willing to lose 2 out of 3 members up there just in order to burn as much time as they could. So let's see if Wolves will double down quite as much.
I think the Jackal can help out here as well. If that's, of course, we see too many Romans coming in for the side of Wolves. And equally how fast Lost One push their way in throughout this top floor. Mowgli's the one looking to, unsurprisingly, welcome them into the building of Clubhouse. Starting out on the east here, does mean a full map clear is going to be on the cards for the side of Lost One throughout the entirety of this top floor, which means you're going to have to face off against the Azami of Mowgli, who's going to try and burn through as much time as he can with those keeper barriers, almost getting shot in behind there as he backs it towards bedroom, but he's ready for a second asking here, Tim. Is he out the window? Yes, he is. Sees the second man, but couldn't go for him as well. Was back inside. There was no rapid response. Sees a man and gets second. Mowgli deleted them, looking for his third as well. Will he find them? Or will Rise chip in here? Gets Lobin as well. This is a dream start for Wolves on their defensive side.
This really is a textbook perfect example of how to hold the top floor on a Church and Arsenal defence. Absolutely fantastic.
I'll tell you what,
out of Rise and Mowgli.
Step 1 for defending top floor, be Mowgli. 3 massive gunfights being won out there. We can't all emulate him, Tim, but we can do our best.
Absolutely perfect. Well played, Wolves, and what a start to their defensive half. We're talking as if Lost One have already lost this round, but it certainly does look like it's heading in that direction, because look at the freedom that Wolves are playing with now. You've got Rise just running around.
No!
I think Rise even takes a second there just to let that one sink in for himself.
I mean, you don't need Lady Luck on your side, but if she's offering, you take it. It's a flawless round. A 4K from Mowgli. The filthiest spray I've ever seen from Rise. This is ludicrous, Tim. Absolutely ludicrous.
I think Rise's little demonstration at the end of the round there shows just how much he maybe didn't expect to be finding a kill with that spray. Sometimes you just got to take the shots. There's, you know, ammunition isn't always the biggest commodity in this game. You've usually got plenty of it to go around, and sometimes if you know somebody's on the other side of the wall, 10 bullets, it ain't going to matter too much. Just spray across and see what you find. And it's worked out for Wolves, and you just feel at the minute, Des, that they could, you know, shoot a bullet straight up in the air and it'd come down and get a kill onto Lost One. And they need to take advantage of that whilst the game is going in their way as it is.
Woo. Like I say, Lady Luck did not need to be on their side, but if she's offering, you ain't going to say no. All right, 5-2. A lot for Lost One to do, again on a map that really isn't their own. Villa, I think, is much more theirs. As we said, it's their favourite map pick. They've had the most success on it. I think they're on like a 5-map win streak on Villa at the moment, so that's what they'll be turning their eyes to. Not saying they've fully given up on trying to get something done here on Clubhouse, but they've had the tactical timeout. The boys have got to figure this out between them, and it just feels like it's a little too late when Wolves are on fire to this standard.
Well, the problem is as well, you're playing into Wolves' defence now, so you really would expect them to be able to push forward and lock this down. You know, this is their their defense on their map. These are their setups. You know, this is, you know, the top level of their game, as you would expect it. So, yeah, it certainly looks like Lost One are up against a major challenge. I will say, through the group stages, I believe that Lost One have shown us that they are up to a big challenge. I think that their resilience has been good. They've been pushed to overtime a few times when it's looked like they might have an easier win, but they've still managed to get the job done. They're not a team to bend and buckle.
They absolutely are not. Well, there's going to have to be some fight coming out of somewhere, and right now the question is, where is it coming from on the side of Lost One? Lobin, usually the superstar, alongside Maya, the two that really popped off in their qualifier win against Fury to make it here to SI in the first place. Both barely anywhere to be seen. 3 and 12 between them. Arguably, I think, the worst performance I've seen the two of them have.
At the minute, Lost One just looking at windows, being cautious, not wanting to rush their way in. Look what happened last time around. It's not too much of a surprise that they're not wanting to just throw themselves in here. But I like what Wolves are doing. You know, they're getting spotted out. They know where they are, but Wolves are just playing very patiently. They're not really giving much of an opportunity away. We're halfway through the round, and that's the first gunfight we've had, and it's hardly, you know, a head-to-head gunfight.
That's exactly it, right? It feels like stalemate. Like, no one really had to move their feet, but Lost One couldn't find players without having to risk themselves by stepping inside the building that they just weren't really prepared to do. Dots, top fragger for his team, is out of the round as well, taken down. Mowgli up to 13 and 4. I thought we'd be singing Rise's praises after this map, but Mowgli just said, nope, remember, I'm the star of this show.
I mean, we can give Rise a bit of attention as well at 10 and 3, I think.
I mean, he's one of our own. He's like 30 years old.
He's certainly, you know, welcome in the conversation at this point.
Yeah.
Mowgli getting a big entry there to kick things off. And
snap!
That's another interesting point. Rise manages...
No! How? This is unreal!
I'm not having it. I'm not having it. Rise manages to kill Rise. It was the Lost One Rise taking out the Wolves Rise, but he'd already done the damage. P4 double, and that look says it all. Rise does not know what's going on or how he's getting these kills, but whilst it lasts, you just enjoy it. And the point I was making partway through there, Des, is another important element here. Entry kills. There is only one gone to the side of Lost One so far. That was round 6. Otherwise, every entry has gone over to Wolves. And guess who has got 5 out of 7 of them?
Who? Mowgli?
Mowgli.
Of course. Of course.
5 out of 7 kills on the entry for Wolves. And guess who's got the other 2? Rise.
Obviously.
They are just absolutely unreal at the minute. 25 kills between the two of them, Des, in 8 rounds. That's a possible 40 kills for the team, and they've got 25 of them.
It's just ludicrous. Absolutely ludicrous. And don't forget, some rounds they didn't even fully complete either.
No.
The members, they've got, what, 11 kills? They've got 25?
It's honestly... It's
Rise can't do it. He can't keep getting away with this.
I'm not saying it's the best individual map performance that we've seen through SI, because we've seen lots of good performances.
We've seen 7-0s.
It is certainly in the conversation. This duo performance between Rise and Mowgli is certainly in the conversation. We have not often seen domination like this by 2 players on a map.
Rise is doing it for the boomers out there. Shout out to him. I suddenly feel like I can go on and become a pro.
Yep, showing that we can still shoot straight.
We can't.
I know better.
We both know better than that, Tim. We both know better. Our ranked sessions have proven enough. Still, it does look like this one is done and dusted at 6 and 2 for Wolves. Just one more round. We'll see them going through with a dominant clubhouse performance. And no doubt the question will then come too, does that momentum carry all the way through to Villa, or is it left here in these halls for Lost One to bounce back and take us through to Oregon? Either way, it's shaping up to be a really impressive series. And what I'm loving the most, Tim, is we've seen so many what we've called team fixtures, where there's been a real good spread of kills across all players on a team. It's been a real battle between the two, but here you're seeing a real show of class from a team that, again, historically on LAN, we just don't see this from often. You guys are seeing now what we're used to seeing in the European League when these guys are really on their day.
Yeah, this is week in, week out, and this is the team that we've hoped would show up at a LAN one day, you know, to show their ability. Now, Lost One have made good progress into Strip. The problem that they've got at the minute is that they haven't affected top floor. So they can try stage, they can try Strip. It doesn't really matter either way at the minute because Wolves have still got four players up on the top floor. They've got control of Master, Gym and Construction. So it is very unlikely at the minute that Lost One are able to get a plant down without a few kills on top floor. They've got everywhere covered.
Interestingly, they have the 8 impacts on side and no C4s, and I thought with the amount of information they've got, the Valkyrie, the Yokais, the Solus coming out, they'd look to play behind C4s, maybe being a little bit cheeky through basement hatches, for example, but for now, it is largely ignored. Still dancing around upstairs, the smokes are coming out, and the plant is going in. I imagine Bibu has at least an answer to this, because his goal obviously is to get straight back onto the cams and try and blast it out, but they're not going to stop it in time. Plant completed, retake begins.
That's not good from Wolves. They had full control of top floor, including construction. They had the hatch. They cannot allow that plant to go down. Fantastic play from Lost One to get it done. They also start finding the kills. 5 versus 2 now. Wolves are fighting back, but it's unlikely that they're going to be winning it on this round. Rise manages to take down Bibu. Rise, the Wolves Rise manages to fight back, finds one onto Lobin. 4 versus 2 it is now, but with only about 6 seconds to have time to take down that diffuser, it's no longer possible. They are not disabling it. That's going to be the round closed out, and for me, that is a misstep from Wolves. They had 4 men on top floor and an Echo Des, and the plant was still allowed to go down. They had control of the hatch. You can't plant on stage or double door with the hatch open.
They weren't complaining all that much, I don't think. That was their offsite, let's not forget.
It's fine, but
that was their offsite. Now we go back down to the basement where they were incredibly dominant the first time round.
Yeah, and do I think Wolves get this done? Yeah, I think Wolves get this done. I think they probably get it done now. But yeah, you know, the little bit of frustration is there because to me that wasn't a hard-fought round. That was a mistake. You've got 5 players left alive. 4 of them are on top floor. They've got all the angles. You've got the Yokais. You can't allow a plant to go down. You just can't. And Wolves have got to learn from that. But, as you said, going down to Church and Arsenal for round 10. Likely to see a bit of a different situation here. Back onto one of their primary sites. Now, I'm interested, actually, Des, to see Lost One actually attack site. And I'm not I'm not trying to take a jab by saying that, but they just didn't get anywhere near last time. I want to see what they can do. I want to see them, how do they execute onto this site? Because they just got decimated by Mowgli on the top floor. He picked up a 3K. Rise got one as well. And Lost One just didn't get anywhere near. So we'll see if they can do a little bit better this time. I'm just looking at the layout from Wolves and whether they've committed to the top floor quite as much. It doesn't look like they have. There's still 3 downstairs. P4 and Mowgli have dropped back as well. I think it's largely going to be a bit of a turtle defence here.
Looks to be, which always makes me a smidge nervous, because looking at the lineup from Lost One, you pick off, for example, the Hibana. This team is then completely screwed. Sure, they've got 2 hard breach charges left in back pocket, but you've got 4 impacts to rotate through. You can clear off those hard breach charges, and there is no way any of those hatches are getting opened up as a result. So I'm looking at this and just thinking there's maybe a missed opportunity here for Wolves. Not that they know that there would be such a limited amount of hard breach coming in. I'm pretty sure in a game earlier on today, we had 3 hard breaches coming through on this map. In fact, I think it was even the one just before we came and started casting, Tim.
I think Wolves have done it on one of their attacks.
Where they have literally everything.
Wolves did it on one of the attacks. They had Hibana, Ace, and Thermite.
Yeah, here it's a little bit light on the ground, which I won't complain about too much unless it really starts to sting them. I can't imagine that it will.
No, I wouldn't have thought so, but I agree with what you're saying. When you're in that situation, it feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity. If they get out there, a couple of players on their own and pick up a kill onto Hibana, then the round should largely be done at that point, but they're not going to have that opportunity. Instead, opting to turtle up and try to hold on. Now then, Lost One have certainly been cautious in their clearance here. With nobody to fight against, they've still taken a minute and a half to be confident of their control over the top 2 floors and to start opening hatches up. We've also got Lobin, who's taken a big chunk of damage there. I don't know if that was maybe from a Nitro. Rise's Nitro has been used, so I think Lobin taking a lot of damage from that, and that leaves us still 5v5, 1 minute 20 left to go. Wolves are just waiting for the coming onslaught.
And you got Dash, who is just sat outside, tunnel up towards the top side too. Down he'll try and work through solo down through dirt because he's got Shinka to fare off against down there, and that's just going to see you wasting time trying to push in through all of those smokes. I think that's the ideal. You can see that he's expecting it. Not yet coming through, but all of Lost One are going to no doubt have their push coming in, mainly through the hatch and so on and so forth. Okay, he does want to push it. This is interesting.
It's certainly going to be. Now then, Shinka, he's holding on to Dirt Tunnel for the time being. Smoke canister goes out just to slow things down. He's going to be playing the tight angles, the CQC with the shotgun, and they certainly are looking to pressure kitchen hatch as well. The drop is going to have to come through at some point, but a Vulcan canister gets well timed, opened up below, stopping the push into blue as well. This is going to be down to the last 15, maybe 10 seconds, Des.
Yeah, more smoke's being burnt as well inside of Dirt, which is good. There's Dash finally one to P4. So actually, he's pulled the EE1D, but rotated off as well to go for help elsewhere. Dotson trying to look to go for a plant. It's not yet coming through. They've got some of the vertical cover, but Mowgli's starting to break it open. Gets 2 kills, kills the cover, kills the man upstairs as well. I think, no, it's Rise. Dash bringing one down in response, but it feels too little, too late. 2v2 coming into the last few seconds. Dash is all that's left standing between Wolves and a round win here and a game win, and it's going to be certified. Wolves with a very dominant round 1.
As soon as they put the diffuser down in sight, got that kill onto Dot, she just felt that was it was over. Lobin was obviously very concerned with the cover onto Dirt Tunnel, and rightly so, because that's where some of the danger could have come from, but it just left that gap. Maybe they needed a second man in kitchen to help cover over towards Church and give Dots what he needed. When you plant in that position, as we saw with the final kill that